Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. I'll tell you, even the entrepreneurs with the best abundance mindsets, even the entrepreneurs who seem to always win and always succeed, go through tough times. It's just part of the process, myself included. I preach cash flow all day, but I went through a major cash flow crunch this year due to some poor decisions that I made in my business, and I'm paying for them, literally and figuratively. And I think we all go through those times, and it's really tough. But I would say that when you do go through those, how you handle them is the test. How you handle them is the ultimate test of your true abundance or scarcity mindset. And when you have, it's easy to have an abundant mindset when there's money in the bank. But do you still continue to have that mindset when there isn't money in the bank? That is the ultimate question. And I know it's hard to have an abundance mindset, but it's very possible. And I want to tell you a story about something that happened fairly recently in a business networking group that I'm in. And it was something that struck me so hard on like how I felt. I'm going to tell you that how I felt instinctively in my reaction to it. And I'm going to kind of share with you what unraveled from there. And I was actually reflecting on why I reacted that way to this post. And what the post was, a coach, a fellow business owner in our community, who was posting like, "Hey, I've really fallen on some rough times. I feel like nothing I'm doing is working." And they posted in this group, which is all, by the way, a community of fellow business owners trying to grow their businesses, right? But they posted in this group and they said, "Hey, does anyone need a coach? I'm happy to just to do work for you and you pay me." So it was kind of the post was, I would say, an equivalent of kind of like a wanted ad, right? It was a, "Hey, I'm available for hire. I do this, you know." And after so much training in this community on how to grow your business using marketing, using the right messaging, using an ideal avatar, using all of these things, after all of that training, I feel like it went out the window when there was no money in the bank. And they were selectively applying the lessons of this business community. When there was money in the bank, it's like, "Oh, yeah, I can afford marketing and I can afford to do this and I can afford to do that." But then when there was no money or when we fell on a cash flow crunch, suddenly it was, "Hey, anyone need a business coach for hire?" And they were fully transparent in this post to say that they were running out of money. And there were a couple of things that unpacked for me there. Number one was it made me think about how the likelihood of someone hiring that person from that post is probably extremely low for two reasons. Number one is that the post itself was simply asking for business. It was kind of that cold outreach that, like, "Hey, hire me." And I personally am very anti cold marketing in some respects, and especially in coaching or in professional services or my field. I'm not a big fan of a cold outreach. Now, I understand why you would do cold outreach in certain industries, 100%. But this idea of like, "Hey, can you please hire me?" doesn't really work well for me. It's kind of giving me the vibe of, "Hey, do you want to go out?" And it's like, "Well, we just met. Like, chill out." I feel like it's asking for the sale too soon, number one, in the relationship. Number two is that this person revealed and very transparently in the group that they were falling on tough times financially and that they were really struggling. And it definitely came across as desperate in that tone. So the other thing that kind of went through my mind is I don't think I want to hire someone who's desperate. I don't want to hire someone who is going to compromise their values. I don't want to hire someone who's going to come to resent me probably because they're going to say yes to everything I want in their desperation. I've kind of put myself in their shoes, right? And going, I really don't want to deal with a desperate person because it's not going to end well for anybody. And I also don't want to, start a relationship feeling like I am pitying this person. I would rather someone come to the table fully confident, showing up like a winner and saying, here's how I can help you with your problem, as opposed to showcasing their own problem. And that was the thing that actually bothered me, was showcasing your problem and positioning me to solve it for you instead of the other way around. Asking for business from your customer by asking them to help you dig out of a cash flow rut. For me, that's not business, that's charity. That is asking someone for their money and just saying, please hire me just because I said so. You know, I really do think good marketing goes a long way. But marketing is not simply asking for business. Marketing is positioning yourself in a place of authority and trust so that people come to you when they need to solve a particular problem. And in the case of this story, and why it struck me so hard, was because it went against the very, I'd say, the norms that I've come to agree with when it comes to brand and marketing. And it made me think, well, is it a good idea to let your scarcity show? And I would say no. You may disagree with me. I would say no. I don't think showing scarcity is generally a good idea as a business owner. I don't think exposing that you're falling into hard times financially is always a good idea. Now, Jen Gottlieb, who wrote the book Be Seen, she said something at an event I was at that sunk in with me, which was share the scar, not the wound, or something like that. So if it's still a wound, don't show it, but show the scar after. And I would say it's a great story to tell when you fall into cash flow hard times. I mean, I fell into plenty of them this year. And I love telling the story now because I look back on it, I can reflect and I can share with you what I learned from it. But while you're still in it, while you're still kind of in that messy middle of dealing with the wound and dressing it, it's not a good time to show it, because I think that what you're showing is a degree of vulnerability that is unhealthy. And it's actually going to damage your brand, damage your confidence. What you should do instead, if you're in this position, this is what I would do differently. If I were that person and I said, okay, I'm on tough times financially, I really need to get scrappy and I need to ask my entire network to hire me, I would reposition it this way. I would then go back to, what are the fundamental problems that I solve? I would go back to, where are the people who have those problems? I would show up in those places, whether that be virtually or otherwise. And I would start talking about how I help with this problem, tell stories of how I helped with that problem. Talk about how I've overcome that problem myself, if that's applicable. And I would really focus on how I can show up even more as an expert and help people overcome whatever that challenge is. You know, it's kind of the opposite of what you instinctively may want to do, which is just throw your hands up and say, I surrender and I just need help and I need help financially. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, fundamentally, by definition, I think an entrepreneur is someone who would never, ever consider doing that. An entrepreneur is someone who sees a problem, even if it's their own cash, and finds a way to solve it. An entrepreneur is someone who gets scrappy, but not too messy. And I really would encourage you that if you're showing up in a certain way and you're revealing how much you're struggling, understand that you don't want business generated from pity. You don't want to generate that type of relationship with your ideal customer. You want to show up as a position of authority. And it doesn't mean that you have to have all your shit together. It doesn't mean that you have to be perfect, but it means you have to be composed enough for someone to go, I trust her with my money. I trust him with my money. And making sure that you're earning that trust. If you are not showing up a certain way, you're losing that trust and it's actually going to further damage you. So, as you navigate these different seasons, these different mindsets, abundance, scarcity, whatever you'd like to call it, I want you to consider how it is you're showing up. And if those types of things, if your bank account balance is affecting your behavior, you have to check yourself. You have to check it. Hold yourself accountable. Have someone hold you accountable to say, hey, am I coming across a certain way? Do I sound too desperate? Because if you're feeling a little desperate, you're probably sounding it. So I would encourage you, if you are considering, throwing the hands up, just asking for money, get resourceful first. Really go back to the basics. Go back to the basics of what you've learned about marketing. Go back to what is or is not working. Diagnose the problem. Diagnose the actual problem and how you got here. And if it's something you can't fix overnight, which most of the time it's not, then you just have to commit to the solution. and find another way to solve the short-term problem of the lack of cash. But this was kind of something that I unpacked as I looked through this post and as I kind of navigated my reaction to it, because I had a pretty negative reaction to it, I'll admit. I was like, this is really off-putting. In a group of what should be entrepreneurs, this person's basically sticking out a baseball cap asking for us to hand them money, essentially asking for their business, but asking, hey, will you hire me? And you really have to understand that your ideal customer may not be attracted to that. And you have to know that if you're going to find a quality customer that you want to have a relationship with, that you're going to have to invest in finding the right customers. It will take a while. You may have to say yes to stuff that you don't want to in the meantime. You also have to be not too picky about who is your customer, while simultaneously being really clear about what customer you want. And that's really challenging. I think as this post went on, this person elaborated that they're really trying to hit their ideal client and reach them, but they're having trouble and they're turning down certain business in an effort to get to that ideal client, which is a whole different issue. But I will say this, that you can't afford to be too picky early on. When it comes down to cash flow, it comes down to cash flow. And sometimes it's better to say yes to the clients that are there and willing to pay you than to act in a desperate form trying to find the people that you want to serve, because you could be ruining those relationships just by the message you're sending. So I just wanted to share this with you as a reminder that how you show up matters, and that it's really important to kind of regulate how you're showing up, how you're communicating your business message, and who it is you're attracting, and being constantly aware of that. It's a lot to manage. I know that, but it's part of the game. And I wish you the best of luck and the best of intentions as you go forward in your business. And I hope that you're able to, cultivate an abundance mindset in all seasons of business. Hey, if you haven't yet booked a power session with me, I currently have spots open and I would love to dive deeper into your business. Now, here's what you can expect. One client who's a business coach said that this was one of the most clarifying sessions she's ever had. And she said, I feel like I finally understand how to steer the ship of my business in the right direction. Another client said that she couldn't believe that so much money, $10,000 per month to be exact, was hiding in plain sight on her financials. And she only discovered it from sitting in our session and going through the details with me. Another client was able to get their S corporation fully implemented with me on a call, and then their salary was adjusted to the proper level, so now they can have all their ducks in a row come tax time. The beauty of these sessions is that you can make them your own, and we can meet you where you're at in your business to help you move forward faster. If you're interested in booking a session, click the link in the show notes and apply now to grab one of those spots. We only do about 2 per month, so space is limited. Jump on it right now. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.